Good morning, Steve.
Good morning. How we doing?
Well, I'm doing great. I thought you were going to start us off with your Rocky.
I know. I look like Rocky, don't I? Like I just got done punching some slabs of meat in the locker.
That's right.
Big,
I don't know if I'd want to be an agent in your office, man. High accountability.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Come in here with those.
That's me. The surfboard hoodies are great.
Well, it looks good. Good morning, everybody. Welcome. We are following up on our promise from last week on going over some scripts, some of our favorite scripts. And you guys will chime in, unmute, or go into the comments and add as we go things that you're hearing and want some examples to.
I would love to hear some of yours as well, right, Sean? I mean, that's how I learned all of mine is by watching great people, great masters apply the trade. So don't be shy today.
No, I'm not shy about scripts.
I thought one way we'd start off is just by laying the foundation, I think, of what makes for a good script or where you need to be, because I believe the most powerful script we have, the most powerful script an agent will ever master is the one they tell themselves. Because 7% of success in objection handling or preparing a script, which is really a choreographed presentation. That's what scripts give you an opportunity to do. 93% of that is the delivery, 7% is the words. So you got to remember that if you're not telling yourself if you don't have the right message going on upstairs, the delivery is going to be off. I mean, you could believe something internally all you want, but if you're not convinced internally when someone asks you a question that's going to challenge you, then your body language, inflection, all of those things are such an important piece. Don't you agree? And I think that's a part that gets missed.
100%. And for most of us, if we're not saying something we truly feel, that's when we get the complaints. I don't want to sound salesy. I don't want to sound pushy. Yeah. Well, you sound that way when you're saying something you don't believe. And when it's coming from your core, then all the things you don't think about, what you're saying, your tone, your facial moves, everything else is in alignment. So it starts absolutely with the internal script that you're telling yourself. I love that.
Yeah. I think of like I've been on Broadway, or not on Broadway. I've been to Broadway, seen some wonderful plays. Wicked was the last one that I saw when I was in New York. It's been out forever. And I think of all of those wonderful actors that share their talent night after night, week after week, month after month, year after year, where they're acting out the same role. Mm-hmm. They don't change. And I remember this was years ago. It was one of these great actresses was from Cats. Was interviewed, and I think it was Katie Couric asked her, and it stuck with me to this day. It sticks with me. How do you get up night after night to just do the same thing over and over and over? It's true for an rock artist, right? Chris Stapleton, who I can't wait to see. He sings these same songs night after night. And what this actress said from Cats was, every night I try to connect with the audience. And when I do that, it's authentic. Like I have this authentic connection. I thought that was really powerful. Yeah. This must be true, right? For anyone who, I think of rock stars or musicians that have to play that same song, sing that same song night after night. I thought that was a really enlightening comment.
I'm so impressed with the people that do that, because you're right. This is maybe the 100th time I've done this, but it's the first time these people have seen it. And you owe it to them. You have to bring them that.
And I thought that trying to connect. So I think that when we talk about scripts, you can have a choreographed listing presentation, buyer presentation. You could have choreographed your objections as it relates to commissions, your experience, your market share, the company's market share. But if you can connect, that's the key. If you can connect, then all of these things that you think are scripted, they don't make you feel comfortable, will be authentic and will land authentic with the receiver of the message.
Well, let's talk about some the basics of some of that.
Yeah.
For instance, for me, I tend to not use the word script just because so many people shy away from it.
Yeah.
Oh, I just count on my natural gift of talk or which is just absolute silliness. You're in a profession that has skills.
Yeah.
There's nobody who's naturally a good salesperson. It's a skill set. But we feel like they don't sound right. So first of all, I call them confidence dialogues. If you knew how the dialogue was going to go, you'd be a lot more confident when you're talking to someone. And we all speak in scripts.
That's right.
Yesterday was my son's birthday. You know what we did at the end of dinner? We sang happy birthday. That's a script. We all know it. We all know to say it. Every time you walk into a store and someone says, may I help you? Not every time, 99.9% of the time. How do we respond? No, just looking.
Looking. Yeah, just looking.
That's a script. Our job as professional salespeople is to be able to outscript the non-professionals, which is our clients. They have one or two scripts. They're coming from negative. They're coming from no, because it's a very, very fearful thing, what they're thinking of engaging in, right? And we represent that fear. So they're coming from a place of no, and they have one or two scripts to help them get out of it. I don't know who you are, or, can't we do it for less? Or I want my home. But these are just basic scripts they learn. You have to know one more than that. I think, so here's the, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Here's what I teach. Memorize, internalize, customize. You can't do it out of order. Every script sounds bad. I know. It doesn't sound like you. I know. Memorize it anyway. Once it's internalized, once it comes out without you thinking, then you'll find yourself customizing it to the actual things being said, and no one will think it's a script. You won't even think it's a script. No, that's just what I said. Really, it's coming from these memorized scripts that are now in there, and you're pulling from them, and it all is very natural. But you have to do it in that order: memorize, internalize, customize.
Right. And one thing that I learned, it took me a couple of years, but one of the things that helped me kind of de-escalate the emotions or worry about what I was going to say or what someone might ask is the conversation I had with myself before I walked in to the listing appointment or to meet with a buyer. And I finally got to the place mentally where I said, I'm going to see if I can help these people. If I can help these people, I will. If I'm not the right fit, then I'm not the right fit. And it was just that simple inner conversation, that inner voice that helped just take all the pressure off and help me show up in a different way. Now I'm showing up to see if I can contribute. Not to tell them what they should know, not to tell them what I believe they should do. How can I contribute here? How can I be in this business? If I'm the right fit, I'm the right fit. If I'm not, hey, then that's okay. There's other fish in the sea, as they say. You're
never going to be salesy doing that.
No. And, one of the things before we get into just dialogues and process and how we set ourselves up, they might be helpful to the team if we told them, I know there's only one question. I believe in all my heart, there's only one question every one of your clients is asking themselves before they meet you, if they've never met you before. And even if they have met you before, there's someone that you were referred to you, or you've gone to community events and you spent time around them, but you've never transacted, you've never done business with them. Maybe it'll be helpful for the group if I tell them what I've learned in my 37 years in this business. You ready?
Yep.
Every seller is asking themselves one simple question. And the question is this the best agent for me to handle my business, to give my business to?
Absolutely, 100%.
That's the question.
I'm about to embark on this very scary, very stressful. Think about all the things that go through a person's head. Is this the right agent? Are they from the right firm? Do they have the right price in mind? Are they going to do the right marketing? Is my home going to sell for as much as I want it to? Will I find another home? It's an endless stream of very high-level, stressful questions. And they're basically hiring someone to handle it all.
And I think that because sellers and buyers, in this case, our clients, they do real estate so infrequently, that's the question, but they don't come out and ask it. So they ask it in different ways. How many homes have you sold in this neighborhood? What's your commission rate? What do you do differently than other agents? I only want to give you a 30-day listing. Would you reduce your commission if the house doesn't sell in 30 days? I could go on and on, right? But these are the questions they ask because they don't know how to ask the questions that they really need to make this decision as to, are you the right agent? They do not ask the question. So these are the questions they ask, right? Not some of the time, not part of the time, all the time. So if you know that going in, this allows you to choreograph, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And I think we got some scripts we got to get to, but let's start with that. Yeah. You just asked a number of objections. What is the first step? When someone brings up an objection of any kind, what's the first step?
For me, and I can only speak from my experience, is to say, that's a great question. Help me understand. You asked me about my experience. Help me understand what's important to you, or what you're going to evaluate when making a determination as to whether or not an agent has the right experience for you. Can you define for me what experience looks like for you?
Perfect. Never answer the question until you've explored what the question means to them. Part of it is they don't even know. Half the time they don't know what they're asking or what they want. Right. But other times you could answer it wrong. How experienced are you? I'm a new agent. I think that's the most important thing. I don't have much experience, but you know, my manager told me to use the office as a we. Oh, we have quite a bit of experience. We have over 100 live listings right now, and we do this and we do that. And the client says, that's too bad. I was looking for someone young and hungry who doesn't have anything else going on and could take care of me. Thank you. You just lost the listing because you didn't ask what was important to them about the question.
Yeah, and I think asking the question, help me understand what's important to you about, they might say, how many homes have you sold in this neighborhood? That's a really enlightening question and a wonderful question. May I ask, before I answer, what's important to you about hiring an agent who sold homes in this community? You might find that they're going to take you down a road that has nothing to do with the question. And if we presume that that's it, then we're not drilling down deep enough to build that authentic connection with them. What I've always felt and what I believe to be true is that whatever we do, we need to do with confidence and certainty. So when you respond that way, that will give you, no matter what they'll ask you, if you always say, help me understand what's important to you about, gives you confidence. You present differently. And by the way, I think if you're going to be a strong listing agent, a strong real estate agent, you have to exert confidence from the minute you ring the doorbell, the way you walk through the house, the way you take control of the conversation to start, all of it has to exude confidence and certainty. Not in a hubris way. Not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about how you present yourself from the minute they see your face is really, really critical. And so that's one of the techniques I've learned, Sean, is to say, to take the nerves off of me when I don't have, oh shoot, they asked me how long I've been in the business.
Right.
Oh my God, this is going to do me in. That inner voice that I used to have as a rookie-ish agent, those first year to 24 months, that would panic me. And everything about my body language conveyed it, right? A little rattle in my throat, that nervous twitch that you get where your voice starts to chop up a little bit, your face turn red, your hair, all of that goes away when no matter what they say, I'm going to say, help me understand what's important to you about blank. And oh, by the way, whatever they say, you have a pen and paper and you're writing it down. You're not just nodding in agreement. Oh, okay, great. Whatever they say, you're writing it down.
Because they're important and you're showing them.
Okay, so anyway, I'm off my soapbox. But
I love it. In the old days, we used to call that assume the sale. Right? That was the old school term for that. I already know I have the sale in place. Let's be confident. All right, so let's give some actual scripts.
Yeah.
I wanted to start with one. This is not objection handler. It's about generating business. Right now, we're all about generating listings. And whether you're calling people or door knocking or networking, at some point, we're asking them if they know if anyone is thinking of selling in the near future. Is that something they've contemplated? And most of the time we get a no, which is natural, right? What is it? 1 in 10, 1 in 11 people are even thinking about it. But there's a clarifying question that you can ask, and this is the script that will give you a very much different conversation a lot of the time. After they say, and no, I'm not thinking about selling, you say, well, let me ask you this. Can you imagine a circumstance that might cause you to want to sell? A certain price possibly, or a dream home? With that question, always give them two things. Don't just Here's one of the rules of scripts. A broad question leads to a narrow no almost every time. If I said, can you imagine a circumstance that might cause you to want to sell? No. Give them two things to think about. If it's on the phone, I always say price and dream home. But if I'm standing in front of them, I might make an assessment. You know, they're young. I can see the tricycle and two kids in the background and one's hanging on her knee, you know. I would say a certain price or maybe a larger home. I actually had one where the gentleman was, at that time, I thought older. He's probably my age now. It's tough. But at the time, I said a certain price or maybe downsizing, you know, retirement. And he just told me no 3 times. He's not going to sell his home. And I said, well, yeah, when I retire, I mean, I'm going to sell my home, but that's a long way off. And of course, being a good salesperson, I clarified the question. Well, what is a long way off? And he said, at least 6 months.
Oh my God, really?
That man's in a job he hates. 6 months is an eternity for him. For me, I'm already thinking about how we start blocking video.
Yeah, you're thinking 6 years when he's talking,
right?
Yeah.
They don't know, and therefore we don't know unless we ask the question. So, hey, can you imagine a circumstance that might cause you to want to sell? A certain price possibly, or downside? Give them 2 things to think about. The conversation will change a lot of the time.
For sure. Love that. I like when an agent takes a listing and they're doing some circle prospecting around that. I would hope they would always have some form of direct communication, whether it's by door knocking or phone calls, whatever. But another script I really like is, as a result of my marketing efforts, we're going to be bringing a lot of traffic in. And if this house turns out to be not plan A and a buyer is looking for plan B, is there a circumstance in which you would want to, if I could present an offer to you on your home, would you want to see that offer? If I could present you an offer, would it be something you'd want to see, or are you just, no, you just don't even bother with me? Well, what would that offer be? I don't know at this point, but my question is, would you consider, or would you want to see a contract if I could craft one? And I always thought that was a really powerful prospecting question, because after years of just circle prospecting, hey, I'm marketing the house down the street at 123 Happy Hollow. Do you know of anyone who'd like to buy the house? Right? Would you like to pick your neighbor? All the scripts I was taught, none of them ever really produced much. No, I really don't. And because they, like you said, it's the same. It's like asking someone that walks into Nordstrom's, can I help you? And that we say, no, I'm just looking.
Generic question, specific no.
But if you say, is there a circumstance by which, if I had a buyer that would identify who's identified this community as a place they'd like to live, and I know this isn't on your radar right now, so I'm joining forces with them. I know this isn't on your radar right now, but if they said, hey, what about that house? And I could get them to write a contract on your home. Would you like to take a look at that?
I love that. And there's an aspect to that. You guys are going to find, for those of you who haven't gotten that into it, scripts have certain I'm going to call it mechanisms that get repeated. So like the last part, the question you're asking, we'll see this in numerous scripts. You're presenting them with an either or. And one side of it isn't very bright. Like when you say, well, most of my clients, my savvy investors, all know that net is most important. But are you more interested in price? Well, now to say yes means they're not savvy. They're not paying attention. Listen, a lot of successful people I know, they're always looking at options, right? If we did have an offer, would you want to see it? Their only options are now yes or no, I'm too dumb to be like successful people. I don't want to see it. There's a great way to frame questions like that and then it opens it up. Once you're open to seeing things, who knows what could happen next?
That's it. Okay. And by the way, anyone, let's just, for the sake of just reality, anyone who would say, yeah, I think I take a look at it, you have to know in your mind that somewhere in their agenda is selling that home at a time. Now, you may have to, what you're talking about may accelerate that for them, and they might be thinking, God, we're not ready to sell, but with all the housing doing what it's doing, prices going up, what if the market, they could have that in their mind the moment they say, well, yeah, I'd take a look at it.
Absolutely.
And allows you to dig deeper down the road, right? To see what their true motivation is, why they would even consider looking at an offer. So anyway.
It ties back to your internal dialogue. Start with this internal dialogue. Every single home is for sale. Every single home is for sale right now at the right price.
Yeah.
If you know that going in, then it changes what your expectation of the questions will be.
That's right.
Okay, so another one I've got is there's two objectives every time we talk to someone new. The first one would be to get an appointment if there's a need. If they have a problem I can solve, then I want an appointment. If I can't get an appointment, then I want their information so I can add them to my database. The bigger our database, the greater our salary, right? It just equates that. So this is what we call an NLP script, neuro-linguistic programming, meaning it's one where you don't change any of the words. This would end every conversation you have with anybody you haven't met yet. You're all done. There's no to every question you ask. And then you say, hey, do you mind if I stay in touch in case things change in the future? Love to earn your business. What you've done is taken the present fear. Right now, they're afraid of you. You're trying to sell them something. You're on their front doorstep, and they want you gone because they're afraid of us. Because I don't know why they think we're going to sell them something.
Yeah.
When you make it future tense, you take all the fear away. No, I mean, you can stay in touch with me about something off in the future because that means you're gone. You mind if I stay in touch in case things change in the future? Love to earn your business. You're special. I'm respecting you. You'll get a much higher yes to that, or sure, why not, if they get you off my doorstep. And then you follow up with, what's a good email for that? Remember, you cannot take it back to the present. If you said, good, what's your email? Now my hand's out. I'm asking for something. Fear comes back in. You mind if I stay in touch in case things change in the future? Love to earn your business. Great. What's a good email for that? That should roll off your tongue in your sleep. Every single person you meet, end it with that. Add them to your database, and then provide value.
Yeah. Ask them too, because I think what happens is we get all of the CRMs. What agents tend to do, I did this too, is if I had a cadence for communication, everyone was in the same program. And again, over time, I've learned that, you get a lot of opt-outs when someone says, yeah, you can follow up with me, then you're pinging them every 2 weeks with something. And then next thing you know, you're getting people dropping off your list. Ask the question, how frequently would you like to be updated on the current market as an example, so that I don't fill up your inbox? Would you like to hear from me once a quarter on the market? Or if I have something that's really unique, some hot property, of course, I will be sure to share that with you. But how often would you like to know what's going on in the marketplace? With the CRM, and depending upon your program, you can control all of that by just using that tool in terms of the frequency and the cadence in which you're communicating with people, and you're selling to them how they want to be sold. That's really critical here if you want to maintain a database that's really effective, as opposed to just one size fits all.
And in the listing presentation as well, how often do you want to hear from me? Absolutely.
One of my favorite. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, you reminded me of two funny lines. Anytime you can make the other person chuckle, rapport went up tenfold. So in the scripts we're just now doing, for instance, the one where you're out doing lead gen, do you know any of your neighbors who've been talking about possibly selling their home? And they say no. If you're comfortable, follow it up with this. Well, let me ask it a different way. Is there any neighbor that you wish would move? Because I'll go knock on their door. They will chuckle. The rapport just changed.
That's awesome.
The other one is what you're saying. When you say, hey, do you mind if I stay in touch in case things change, and you see them hesitate. Say, no, I don't want you to worry at all. I promise no more than probably 40 to 50 emails a week. That's all I'll say. They chuckle, rapport just went up. Yeah. And they're more likely to give you their email.
Amen.
Make them laugh.
I think when we talk about scripts too, all of us on this call, we're all veterans to an extent with various degrees of tenure, right? Years in the business. But I think all of us know in our repertoire when something we're saying is working over time. And we know that it's working based on the response, right? It's we send out a message, the receiver gets it, and we can read their body language, or we can see them light up or they'll even comment, I really appreciate that question. So when you get that, you've got one that's working. For me, one of the dialogues that always helped me, particularly in a listing presentation, was this one. And it worked. As far as I can tell, Sean, it never landed without being received very, very well. And it's this, Mr. Seller or Mrs. Buyer, conflict arises when expectations differ. Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
That's life's truths, right? One of the challenges in a business that's so fast-paced, And one of the criticisms that our industry faces from folks like yourself is that communication can be an issue. And this is a stressful transaction, a lot of moving parts, and you need to feel comfortable that when you want to connect with the person quarterbacking the transaction, you can get a hold of them. So what I want to do is just kind of set up a situation whereby we open up the lines of communication so the conflict doesn't arise. So on a scale from 1 to 10, 10 being I'm communicating with you at the highest level such that, 10 is perfect, 1 being not so good, how would I be communicating with you as to earn that score? What would make it a 10 for you? And then I do the reverse. In my communication, one thing I think all of us, no human being likes to do is the feeling of being ambushed. So on a scale from 1 to 10, if you ever see anything that's preventing me or a decision I'm making that's preventing us from being successful, on a scale from 1 to 10, I want to know about that immediately, and I want to know about it without a filter. Because if I can share with you what I see, the challenges that may be coming as a result of your actions, and you can see and communicate with me openly and freely the challenges that may be coming to you or you feel as a result of my actions, then we ensure that we have an open line of communication. We won't have conflict. Every time I role played that to a varying degree, I have never sat across with someone who received that message didn't really, like you can just see, I like this guy. Right? Just that piece of all the other scripts. So I just share that from my own personal experience that always landed well.
That's fantastic. And one of my favorite things, and add on to that, when you do the 1 to 10, and we do that in various places in a transaction, listing presentation, pre-listing call. What shape is your home in? 1 means bring a bulldozer, we're scraping it, and 10 means it belongs on the cover of a magazine. And they'll give you a number. Mine's a 7. They'll answer your question with whatever the answer is. Ask them what would make it 1+. They say 7. What will make it an 8? Because that's how you actually get to know their scale. What's your house? A 7. What would make it an 8? Indoor plumbing probably would help. Yeah. I don't know what their scale looks like. When you ask that question, it's fantastic. They tell you this is what an 8 is. Awesome. How can I make it a 9?
Yeah.
And they'll tell you, right? They'll tell you how to take care of them. I love it.
Or, another one is how would you rate your house on a scale from 1 to 10? Well, it's about an 8. Well, why does a soft way? Why does that gap exist? Why is there a gap between 8 and 10? Well, because we haven't fixed, or we feel like we need to do really powerful way to get to the truth of what their concerns are, and really help them, by addressing that concern or putting it to rest in one way or another. You're joining forces with them on something that matters to them. You're joining
same side of the table.
Yeah. So I like it in basic objection handling, or when you're doing scripts, always being agreeable is one of the key things. I mean, a lot of times, clients, like I said, they don't do this often enough to have enough experience. So they have some stinking thinking in many areas. And when we hear that, we want to be a right fighter or a doctor, just fix it. But what you want to do is always be agreeable. Look, I appreciate why you might feel that way. Heck, if I sold a house once every 7 years, I might feel the same way. May I share something with you that I think if you understood it from my perspective, it might shine a different light or get you to see the problem a little bit differently? May I? Another key is never, ever address conflict without permission. I've learned that. So if I see conflict, I say, may I share something with you that I think if you could say, I'm not asking you to agree with me, Sean. I'm not. But what I'd like to do is share something with you so that you can see it from my eyes and see if that provides any insight into, or at least allow you to understand how I'm viewing this problem. May I?
Right. We're never arguing.
No. Yeah.
Do I have permission to show you some things and expand what you may be thinking about it?
Never. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Oh gosh.
729.
Yeah.
I didn't get any objection. We could probably do 3 of these. I don't know. Maybe we want to do this again next week. I'd love to get more questions. We don't have any questions. I'm gonna when we're ready, I'm gonna leave with one quick short script that people can use. But obviously, we didn't even touch most of the script.
I can't believe it's 7:30. I swear to God, this is the fastest huddle we've ever had. I swear. Is that possible?
Well, it's a favorite topic for you and me.
Oh, well, I guess. Yeah.
Well, I'm going to share, as we go out, I'm going to share the shortest script in the world. This is my favorite script. You can use it anywhere, anytime. I have close to 100% conversion on this. At a restaurant, in a coffee shop, at a 7-Eleven, doesn't matter. Hope everybody's got their pencil sharpened. You ready? Shortest script in the world. Hi, do you own a home? That's the entire script. There's only 2 possible answers. Yes, I do. No, I don't. If they say no, you say, would you like to own one? If they say yes, you say, would you like to own another one? Their response to both of those questions are going to generally be the same, a qualification problem. I don't know if I could buy one. I don't know if I could afford one. You know, every client that I've put into their first home felt that way right up until we got them in a home. Let's do this. Let's get my lender to give you a call and see if they can give you a plan. I mean, having your own home, your own mortgage, your own equity, that's got to be worth 10 minutes of your time.
God.
Hard for them to say no to that.
Especially,
yes, I do own a home. Sorry.
No, I was going to say, especially in the times we're living where rents are exceeding mortgage payments. The best, if you could you imagine if you could help that person get into a home? You'd have a fan for life.
Absolutely.
Life, if you got them in right now, if you found them home with all the circumstances that we're all confronted with. Anyway.
Well, and you can't always help them, but it's almost 100% they get their information when I do that.
Yeah.
And when they say, yes, I own a home, and you say, would you like to own another one? Well, why would they do that? I can't afford that. You know, most financial advisors recommend that you own one home for every child you have. Your home is going to finance your future. Your home's going to finance your retirement. Hey, let's have my lender give you a call. If I could set your retirement up for life and have somebody else fund it, wouldn't that be worth 10 minutes of your time?
Amen.
It's a lender appointment you're selling. All right.
There was a couple of questions in here, Sean. I mean, if we want to get to them while we're recording or not, it's up to you. But
sure.
One is from Christy. It looks like, what do you do if someone resists giving you their email? You know, again, I think I would say, why don't I do this, Mrs. or Mr. Client? Let me give you mine. And when you get home, if you're an Apple consumer, you can respond. You can give me an alias email. It's called hide my email that you can control. So if at any point you just want to delete my comms, you can do so without any friction to yourself. I'm willing to wait for that. I mean, like, oh, well, this guy's a nice guy. I mean, I'm always looking for ways to bridge that gap. That's what I would do. We all see that hide my email feature. It's one of the best features that Apple has, and you can shut it off and they'll never hear from me again. But they have your real email, and they can share that with you. And again, anything to de-escalate, so I'm not being salesy. I'm trying to come from a place of contribution. I just share, what tool is this? Hide my email. Oh, you didn't know about it. You know, because I get spam from everybody, so I hate it. So now this is the best thing that's ever happened to me, and now they're liking me even more. So I look for opportunities like that. How can I educate you?
I love that. You're way more techie than I am. I never even heard of that.
Yeah, it's a wonderful feature. It's called Hide My Email. You can get Apple will give you as many emails as you need that you can control and give it to any vendor, and you can turn it off, and it's over.
I go much lower end. First, I make the joke if possible. No more than 40, 45 emails a week, so you have nothing to worry about.
I love that.
They laugh because this is the fear in their head, so put it out loud.
Right, breaks the ice.
And then the other thing is to, again, challenge them into a group. Listen, to be honest, my clients, some of your neighbors, I send them an email once a month or so, and it usually has some value that they really appreciate, and that's why they keep receiving it.
There you go.
There's this group of people around you that are getting this, and you create a FOMO. If you don't like it, though, by all means, you can just hit stop, and I'll take you off the list of people who want to be successful. I'll say that part out loud.
Yeah. That's good.
Any others you want to throw out there right now? We're way over time. Thanks for the morning. Thank you guys for being here.
Yes. Thank you.
Hope this was helpful.
Yeah, maybe we can do a part 2. Just get into more objection handling.
Objection handling.
I really think that by laying the foundation, probably took some of our time away today, but it's such an important topic. And, you know, in all my years doing this, I think that the number one gift we can give agents are the words. What should I say when they say this? What should I say when they don't say what I think they're supposed to say? such an important part of building confidence comes from the way you process that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
and
why
there's a structure we can give. There's basic structure to the responses of all.
That's exactly right. There are guardrails that you can, and ways of thinking so that you're not putting undue pressure on yourself. I said it earlier, and I'm just going to close. My last comment on this today is the single biggest gift I gave myself was checking the voice in my head and making it say the right things. And then in my heart saying, I'm here to help. If I can help, I will. If I can't, I won't. And my mannerisms, my tone, everything meant that. And boy, did that just take a load off. And to do that, by the way, you have to be willing to accept the outcome. And if you're prospecting, you can do that. Like if it's just not one or two opportunities a month, but you're giving yourself, 10 to 20, you can walk away from a bad relationship and not feel anything for it other than stronger.
The key is you're being authentic because of what you have in your head and your heart.
That's right.